Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, let's forget about tire digging engine modes for just a minute today. Because, honestly, the contract market, it's just exploded. It's become the biggest drama source in the whole paddock right now. We're talking Lewis Hamilton, 7-time champ. And this absolutely massive question, will Ferrari even offer him a deal beyond 2026?
Yeah, this isn't really about speed traps anymore, is it? This is pure power struggle territory. We're going to dive into a whole load of source material today, try and unpack, the performance stuff, the really intense political pressures, and all the strategic games driving this huge speculation that, well, Hamilton's time in red could be way shorter than anyone thought. Think of this as your shortcut, basically, to understanding what might really be going on behind those Maranello walls.
Okay, so we have to kick off with the big issue that really lit this fire, right?
Yeah.
The performance puzzle this season. Our sources point to a pretty stark stat. 0 podiums for Hamilton in 20 races. His teammate, 7. That's a big gap. You just can't deny it.
It is. It really is. And you have to acknowledge that difference. It's not just being a tenth or two slower sometimes. We're talking huge performance swings, key moments. Think back, like some of those GPs you had Leclerc grabbing pole in Hungary. Yeah. Well, Hamilton couldn't even get out of Q3. Look, when a driver of that caliber lands at arguably the most watched team on the planet, and the results don't come instantly, especially at Ferrari, the local press doesn't just whisper, it shouts. It explodes.
And that explosion is now like a tidal wave. We're seeing reports, apparently from well-placed paddock figures, suggesting that based on this current run and maybe the internal atmosphere, the 7-time champ won't be offered a renewal when his deal is up end of 2026.
Okay, now that narrative, it's intense. But hang on. Here's the bit of contract reality that kind of pushes back on that whole idea. We've been hearing since day one, basically, that it was structured as a 2+1 deal. 2 years plus an option for a third. But the conflicting stuff coming out now suggests that option for 2027, it might actually be in Hamilton's hands, meaning he gets to pull the trigger, not Ferrari.
Right. And that's the absolute core of it, isn't it? If Hamilton holds the option, why is everyone talking about Ferrari not renewing him now? It just feels, well, completely premature. We're judging them on a car he inherited, fundamentally. A machine built around someone else's style under the old rules. Doesn't it seem way too early to make that call? He walked in during the last year of that whole design philosophy.
You're absolutely spot on to question the timing. It just doesn't quite track logically, judging him on the inherited car. The massive, unavoidable factor here is the new car, the 2025 regulation car. That is the moment. That's when he finally gets to put his stamp on it, influence the design, the development right from the start. If he gets in that car and he's still struggling against his teammate, then okay. Then this whole renewal chat becomes real, tangible. But until we see that, honestly, these rumors feel maybe a bit politically charged.
Politically charged. Yeah, that feels like the key phrase here, because the sources are hinting the issue isn't just about lap times, not purely tenths on track. There are pretty strong claims that, quote, something hasn't worked between Lewis and the team off the track, even if, the pure pace gap to Leclerc hasn't always been disastrous. That hints at something else, right? Chemistry, power dynamics.
And that just shifts the whole focus onto the political chessboard, doesn't it? Like Hamilton's move, it was driven by 2 really powerful figures, John Elkann, the chairman, and Fred Vasseur, the team principal. For Elkann, okay, the signing itself was the win, the bombazo, they called it, that huge shock PR move, boosted the profile, the stock price even. He's already kind of ticked that massive PR success box, you could argue.
Okay, so that leaves Vasseur, and he seems completely tied to Hamilton's success, doesn't he? Sources are suggesting Vasseur's kind of walking a tightrope right now. If that 2025 car flops, he could be out. And we have to remember, don't we, that moment at the U.S. Grand Prix, Hamilton very publicly backed Vasseur when those Horner rumors were flying around.
Oh, absolutely. That public backing, that was huge. Because think about it. If Vasseur gets pushed out, Hamilton loses his biggest political shield, his main ally inside that team structure. Instantly, his position becomes much, much weaker. This is where that vulture theory kicks in. If Vasseur is gone, who comes in? Maybe someone like Christian Horner. And given the, let's say, long and complicated history between Horner and Hamilton, that kind of appointment could basically act as a subtle, unspoken invitation to leave for Lewis, makes the whole environment strategically very difficult.
Wow, the drama is just, it's already intense.
It really is. The stakes are massive. And this political tension, that's the real story brewing here, maybe more than the current lap times.
Right, if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome to DRS Zone. Hey, don't forget to hit subscribe for loads more F1 content like this. We are deep diving into these contract shockwaves hitting Maranello. Okay, let's circle back to that 2027 clause. even if Hamilton holds the power to trigger it, Ferrari isn't exactly powerless, are they? They've got other ways, maybe less direct, but still pretty powerful tools to kind of nudge his decision.
Exactly right. You don't need to, actively sabotage a car to make a driver feel less than welcome. Just look at the Red Bull model sometimes as a comparison. They clearly fully back Verstappen. Total focus. And historically, other drivers there think Tsunoda now or Gasly, Albon in the past. They can sometimes feel a bit marginalized, can't they?
Yeah.
Development focus, engineering time, it shifts. So if Hamilton decides unilaterally, yep, I'm staying for 2027, even if the team is maybe leaning more towards Leclerc long term, he risks ending up in that sort of second driver role. And for a 7-time world champion, that reputational risk is just huge. Intolerable, probably.
Okay, but wait. If that was the plan or part of the dynamic, shouldn't we have already seen some actual proof, some hard evidence of them prioritizing one driver's style, even after signing Hamilton?
Well, yes, and we absolutely have seen concrete examples just this season, which is what makes this potential political pressure feel so real. Source material highlights that when they introduced that new rear-suspension component back in Belgium, it basically forced Hamilton to kind of readapt his driving style. Why? Because the update inherently suited the way Leclerc already drives the car.
Ah, okay. That is a perfect subtle squeeze play, isn't it? No rules broken, just development direction. And Hamilton did struggle right after that update. We saw him miss Q2 in Hungary around that time. Meanwhile, Leclerc seemed to benefit, got more consistent. It really highlights a pattern, doesn't it? The team's ongoing development path keeps favoring Leclerc's natural style, even after signing the supposed big star.
Yeah.
It's a really clever way to apply pressure without ever needing a direct confrontation.
And that existing prioritization, that leaning towards Leclerc, it leads us straight into the next massive rumor doing the rounds in the Italian media, that Ferrari is actively thinking about George Russell as the potential replacement for Hamilton in 2027 if Lewis does end up leaving or not taking the option.
Oh, boy. Okay, and this is where the whole driver market scenario just gets incredibly messy.
Yeah.
Right? For Russell to actually end up in red, there's like this whole cascade of things that have to fall perfectly into place.
Yeah.
4 huge dominoes, basically.
Yeah.
What are those hurdles? It sounds almost impossible.
Well, let's break them down. Domino 1. Mercedes has to somehow land Max Verstappen, which means Verstappen first has to want to leave Red Bull, leave that certainty for a bit of an unknown with the new regs at Mercedes. That's a big ask, not guaranteed at all.
Okay, domino 2.
Russell has to clearly significantly outperform their own rising star, Kimi Antonelli, assuming they're teammates at Mercedes. Russell needs to win that internal battle convincingly, keep his stock super high, basically prove he deserves that Ferrari call-up, even if Merc lose Max.
Right. Makes sense. Domino 3.
This is the big one, maybe. Hamilton has to definitively not beat Leclerc during that crucial 2025 season with the new cars. That's the anchor for all this instability. If Lewis comes out swinging in the new car, matches or beats Charles, then the whole need to look at Russell kind of evaporates, doesn't it?
Okay, and the final piece. Domino 4. This feels like the biggest gamble of all.
Yeah, this is massive. Russell himself has to genuinely want to leave Mercedes, a Mercedes team that many people think might absolutely nail the new 2026 engine regs, and choose to walk into the intense, high-pressure, politically charged environment of Ferrari instead. That's a huge career bet for a driver chasing a championship.
Wow. Okay.
The sheer unlikelihood of all 4 of those things happening perfectly, that's what makes the Russell rumor feel speculative, possible, but requires chaos. But we also have to quickly mention the Leclerc wildcard in all this. The scenario that would just cause an F1 earthquake.
Ah, right. The whispers that maybe Leclerc himself starts looking around if Ferrari don't deliver a truly title-winning car soon, raising that almost unthinkable idea of both Hamilton and Leclerc potentially leaving around the same time.
It's remote, sure, but it just shows how much underlying instability there is. Leclerc's their guy, but drivers need winning cars. Eventually, patience runs out. But look, all of this, all these contract twists, the political games, the driver market madness, it all comes back to one single thing. How good is that 2025 Ferrari? How well does it perform under the new regulations?
Absolutely. It feels like the speed of all this speculation right now is way faster than the current Ferrari on track. If that 2025 car is quick, if it's competitive, Hamilton probably stays, takes the option, Vasseur's position is secure, and these rumors just fade away. But if that car disappoints, especially if Vasseur ends up being forced out, then Hamilton's situation becomes incredibly difficult almost instantly, regardless of what any contract clause says about 2027.
Which really brings up a big question for you, the listener, to think about as you process all this. If Ferrari does keep developing the car primarily around Leclerc's driving style, and that Belgian update suggests they might be, can Hamilton ever truly be fully effective there? Can he genuinely challenge for an eighth title in that scenario? Or was signing the seven-time champ always more about that initial PR splash, securing investment, fulfilling Elkan's short-term goal, with the actual long-term championship bet always being placed firmly on their existing young star, Leclerc?
That is a really powerful thought to end on. Are they actually setting him up for success? Or was it more about using his star power to buy time and boost the brand? Definitely something to chew on until the next race weekend. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into the F1 political storm. And hey, don't forget to subscribe and follow DRS Zone wherever you get your podcasts for loads more in-depth F1 coverage.